Today, I want to talk about our support system abroad because this is one of the biggest lacks, pain points, worries among many expat women, including myself. So, we'll look at different kinds of friendships, all the ways you can build and strengthen your support system of people back home, abroad, and prior, during, and after your move. So, get out a pen, take some notes so you can start growing and strengthening your support system right away.
Welcome to the Empowered Expat Woman Show, the place to celebrate your courage, inspire you to dream and play bigger, and support you in creating a truly fulfilled life across borders. I'm your host, Camila Quintana, and I believe your future is too important to get lost in translation. So, are you ready to make the most of your life abroad? Then let's get started.
Loneliness and isolation is certainly a big issue among expats. And how wouldn't it be? Moving abroad means starting over from scratch, meeting new people, putting yourself out there, possibly even doing so in a different language, culture, context, or with a timestamp on it, like when you're only staying in a country for a limited amount of time. Doesn't make it easier, right? Then, on the other hand, when you return home or you settle down somewhere for good, you might find that people have moved on or that you've changed. Close friendships should never be taken for granted. And as expats, you and I know that firsthand. For me personally, friends and family are everything. I really enjoy the company of my loved ones. I love having deep conversations, profound heart to heart talks, and that intimate quality of a friendship that it usually takes on only after a significant amount of time and of, sharing experiences with each other. So, as I was thinking about this episode, I identified four types of friendships in my life. First of all, my childhood friends or people I've known from my youth, including cousins and family friends, schoolmates, of course, etc. Now, the great thing about these friendships is that you know each other for so long and usually so well throughout different phases of life. You know each other's families, upbringings, your flaws, all of that. And that to me is really special. When you meet up with them, it's usually pretty effortless. Like you can just, continue from where you left it off. And there is so much that already connects you too. But sometimes expats feel that living abroad changed them and that those older friends find it hard to relate to their lifestyle. And also, if all you share with them is your past, once you're all caught up with each other, it can be hard to find things to talk about. So you would need to spend more time with them, experience new things together so that you can really anchor those friendships in the present and for the future. Then next up are new friends. So these would be friends that you've made as an adult, in our cases, probably abroad. Typically, they're people you have a lot in common with and who you really like and who've formed a big part of your life, at least during a certain period of time. As expats, we're usually so open and also in need of friends that when we find someone who's the same, that's a really good prerequisite. So, a really solid friendship can be formed. And these friendships can then continue to mature even after one of you or both of you move away. But it does require effort. Just like with your childhood friends, you need to meet up regularly. You need to make plans together, get to know each other's new lives so that you're not just playing catch up and, oh, remember the time when. Then there are temporary friendships. I'm sure you've had them too. These are friendships that are formed more or less out of circumstances. Sometimes when you live abroad, you think, hey, beggars can't be choosers. So you might make friends who, let me say, aren't the best fit, but who still keep you company and who are there. But most probably, these friendships will fade after your paths separate. I've had a few of those, and I'm really, really grateful for these people because since they were different to me, they taught me a lot of new things. And also, I'm grateful because I needed them and they needed me. We were there for each other. despite maybe knowing that we weren't ever going to be best friends in the long term. And it doesn't matter, right? But then I think it's also okay to lovingly remember them and your time together as you let them go eventually. And then number four are online friends. This is a fairly new development, but nowadays there are so many ways that we can meet and connect and stay in touch online. Usually, these are people that we feel we have a lot in common with and a great connection with. So, obviously, we want to be around them more. And in my experience, okay, so there have been several amazing women that over a certain period of time, I was almost in daily contact with. And yet, in all of the cases, actually, there came a point where we spoke less and less, and maybe even stopped talking for no reason, no conflict or anything, just life getting in the way, I guess. Now, I do believe that friendships naturally go through phases. There are times you have more contact with, more time for, or even more need of each other, and others in which you don't. That's fine. But I suspect that the amount of time you actually lived nearby, you hung out in person, you talked to each other face to face, not FaceTime to FaceTime, and you touched and hugged each other, I believe that gives your friendship a very solid base that otherwise you might lack and then lose touch. Many women are very driven by relationships. That's how it's been for ages. So call it a stereotype, call it conditioning. I believe it's true in most cases. As women, we really need to feel connected to others. We want to be able to share our thoughts and feelings and experiences with others for the sake of connecting over them and connecting with others. Female friendships and sisterhoods are so powerful. They can be our safe house, they can provide support, love, belonging, and they make life less lonely and more beautiful. Also, let's remember that stuff can happen in our life where we'll need to have other people we can count on. We will all experience this in varying degrees. And it's always good to build relationships before you're actually in need of a favor in general. That's why this is something you should do very consciously. There will come a time you'll need a favor, and it's best to ask it from someone who's already a friend and whom you can then return that favor more easily to. So, your support system should be a real priority for your life across borders. There is one beautiful reflection I once heard, and it's been on my mind ever since. It says, who do you want your six pallbearers to be? Those are the people who carry your coffin at your funeral. I didn't know that either. And I hope I pronounce it correctly. So, yes, it's a bit of a morbid thought to think about that, but it's also beautiful. Who are those top six dear, dear loved ones that you would want to carry out this special last favor for you out of a place of real honor and respect and friendship to you? This could be a family member, an old childhood friend from back home, or a friend you made in one of your expat destinations. Think about it and write down those six names. These are your people. And so, with this in mind, how do you want to nurture your bond with these six ish, right? People. What can you do today to make sure your friendship remains as strong or even stronger tomorrow? I will share a few ideas later on, but for now, let's discuss all the ways you can build and grow your support system in the different stages of your expat life. So, scenario number one is before the move. Think about and ask yourself, who do you know in your next destination that you could reach out to before you even get there? And if you don't know anyone, ask around and find out if someone that you know knows someone. And I mean, that's the great thing about any little expat group. We basically know people all around the world, right? Collectively, at least. So I think you can definitely get hooked up there. And yeah, I do really think it's important to take advantage of any contacts you can get and leverage them. Otherwise, you could also join Facebook groups in that new destination. Maybe reach out to a future fellow school parent or a future colleague, a future neighbor, ask them a few questions, get some guidance, put yourself on the map. Draw attention to the fact that you will be moving there. Scenario number two is that you just arrived. So whether you're planning on staying a short time or a long time, doesn't matter. This is the time to be super open, extrovert, make that extra effort. Maybe you don't feel like it. I get it. I mean, settling in means you already have a lot going on. And especially if you're more of an introvert, it can feel like such a stretch to do that. But in my experience, it is mandatory to use the momentum of a move to really create the best conditions for your life there from the get go. So, a few things you can do is to be super friendly to your neighbors and the people you see regularly in your neighborhood. Introduce yourself, smile, say hello when you see them, start on good terms. And this will also help you to settle in more quickly and feel more at home sooner. If you are at a school or at an office, raise your hand when there's need for some kind of extra help. This is another way you put yourself on the map. You'll learn a lot about the country while you're doing this. You will meet people you otherwise wouldn't. And who knows, you might start making friends that way, right? Then also register with your country's embassy or similar institutions. This can really put you in contact with people from back home or those holding the same passport as you. And these, embassies and so forth, they usually organize events, which can be really fun to attend. So definitely another strategy I recommend to build your support system. Then also join clubs, communities, religious groups, enroll in a course, anything where you can meet people and like-minded people, which is a plus. Then also be proactive about meeting people. Invite them to grab a cup of coffee with you. It's not a big commitment, not for you, not for them. So just go for it, do it. And finally, you can throw a housewarming party or you can organize some kind of get together. Invite kids over from your child's class. Settling in is really a family effort, so we all need to help each other. Then, scenario number three is you've lived abroad for a considerable time and you realize I don't actually have any or sufficient real friends. This can also happen because expats move away and you might find yourself alone after your friends have left. So, the good thing is that just as people leave, others will come and they'll very likely be looking for someone like you. I know it can be really hard to move outside your comfort zone after years, especially if you might have previously felt that people haven't shown much interest in you and you found it hard to get close to others. And after some time passes, you might become less motivated to make friends and maybe even a bit bitter about the situation, right? But the bottom line is you deserve to have a real friend, a close friend. And it's never too late to make them. There are definitely people you don't yet know or people that maybe deserve a second chance. If we part from the basis that a support system is a necessary aspect of expat life, I hope you'll find some encouragement in my words to make that effort, even if you've been disappointed before. And if you find this hard, reach out to me. Let's talk about it. And then scenario number four is the friends you've left behind. Let's go back to those pallbearers. I think in life, doing everything with intention is extremely important. It's a game changer. When you live life with intention and you set intentions for every day, your life will go into a completely different direction. And therefore, you should also set intentions for your friendships, the ones nearby and the ones far away. So, first of all, get clear on who you want in your life. And when you think about that, I say be generous. Don't allow unrealistic expectations to ruin a perfectly fine friendship. And treasure the people that you share many memories with and that treasure you. Don't take them for granted. Instead, think about what can you do to keep that friendship flame alive. So, here are a few ideas to achieve that. The first one is mark your calendar for at least one extensive phone call once a month. That's totally doable. And it will ensure that you stay up to date with each other, but you still have enough to talk about, apart from, oh, not much has been going on, the classic. And if you're used to talking to your friends much more often, by all means, continue to do so. But I think once a month is good, right? Then a second idea is to create chats like WhatsApp groups with groups of people you love. This is powerful because groups and communities grant a big sense of belonging between several people. It's not just you and someone else, right? So you'll all feel more part of each other's lives, wherever you are. The third idea is to make a point to share from the heart. The other day, a friend of mine overheard a conversation between shared friends of ours about how lucky I was living near the beach, making all of these excursions. I mean, where we live, there's a lot to see within a less than 2 hour drive. Then I'm running my own business, I have my boys and all of that. And to that person, to that friend, it seemed like my life was so glamorous. And I just thought it was so funny because don't we all do that? We see a snapshot of someone else's life, we read a short message about what they're up to, we hear something about them by someone else, and we draw our own conclusions. We compare our own lives, ourselves, our partners, our circumstances that we know everything about, the good, the bad, the ugly, to someone else's life and someone else's circumstances and someone else's partner, and you name it, that we only know a fraction about. And then no wonder the other people's lives always seem better and more glamorous, maybe. What I could have said to that friend, I could have said, yeah, I live in a really beautiful place, but I'm far away from my family and my best friends are not here either. And I really miss them. We do spend many Saturdays taking trips to beautiful places nearby, no big trips. It's all like 2 hour drive or less because we don't have all the plans and the invites and the social life that you have back home. And when it comes to work, I love my work and I love being an entrepreneur. But sometimes I would love to just get a paycheck at the end of the month without having to do so much for it, without everything depending on me, or even though I've gone on a vacation and I haven't worked at all. And I'm sharing this because we are often so tempted to compare ourselves and then quickly dissatisfied with our own lives as a result. Listen, no life is perfect. But you know what all the people who are satisfied have in common? They make a real effort to focus on what's good instead of what's not, on what they've got instead of what they lack, and on what they would like instead of what they don't like. This is a really good recipe for life satisfaction. And I always tell my clients in this situation that as much as they may envy about someone else's life, that someone else envies about theirs. And if that's hard to believe, take it as an exercise. Find all the things that you could be envied for by someone else. Look for those things, and I promise you, you will look at your own life with milder eyes, even with loving eyes. But anyway, with this little story in mind, I believe that sharing from the heart is really important because you don't want people to only see the Instagram version of your life or the superficial little summary that just fitted in a text message. People become the closest when they're fully authentic with each other, when they can talk about hardships and struggles as well. So, this is an element every solid friendship needs. Then, number four is have a birthday calendar. And maybe even add some other special dates in your friends' lives, like their wedding anniversaries, their kids' birthdays, a date of the death of a loved one, and so forth. Then send them a note on that day or call them. Send a gift on time. Thank God for online shopping, right? This will be really appreciated and it will show them how much you care. Then, number five is to really be proactive about contact, right? Unfortunately, in my experience, it is the expat who needs to be much more proactive about calls and dates. And that might bother you. It sometimes bothers me too. But for now, it's something that I just decided to accept. So let's try not to take it personal and make that extra effort, even if it seems like others don't. And then six, meet in person as often as you can. Whether you visit them or invite them to visit you, or you plan a trip together, I really believe in the power of live meetings when it comes to friendships. Simply different, at least in my experience. And I think it's necessary to keep the connection going, right? So we need to build new memories together because we can only pull from the old ones for so long. It could be years. But if there are no new memories and experiences we share with each other, our friendship will eventually remain in the past. And we want to avoid that. One last thing I want to address when it comes to building a support system. As expats, as global, international, multicultural, and multilingual women, we are bridge builders. And we know how important it is to have that person include you in a conversation, in an invitation, in a plan, in a group. This small gesture can completely change our life and our experience in a country, just to have someone who gives us a chance to be included. So let us all be that person to others. Let's be that person to notice when someone's alone, when someone's in need, when someone requires some help or guidance or simply a smile. We know how painful it can be to feel excluded, so let's not exclude others. Now, I'm super curious about your experiences with this topic. First of all, I would love to know, do you consider to have a good support system in your host country? If you are in need, do you know who to call? Do you have those six pallbearers, regardless of where they live? And what do you do to nurture them? And what do you do to build connections with new people and also to maintain the bonds with old friends? Please let me know. Send an email to info@camillaquintana.com and write about your experience or join the conversation we have on social media, especially on Instagram, where you can find me at coach.camillaquintana. I speak to you soon. Until then, take care.